Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Corey Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, guys.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Austin Henneberry. He has been around the reconditioning business since 1993 and purchased his PDR business from his dad in 2019, but he can't fix a dent. Welcome to the show, Austin. How was it?
Nice.
Did I nail it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that we get a lot, and we don't have to start here, but like I took over business from my dad. There's a lot of second generation people coming. And one of the things that stood out to both me and Ryan originally is that you're running a PDR business and other stuff, but a PDR business, but you don't know how to fix a dent. So How did that happen? How'd you buy a business from your dad? You can't even fix a dent. That's crazy.
Yeah. So and growing up in the industry, I mean, there's entertaining photos when we first got started in 93. I mean, I'm just a handfuls of 3 years old at that point.
Yeah.
And because we're coming up on our 30th year. It's our 30th anniversary right now this year.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
And growing up, and there's fun photos of me work around the cars, whether hailstorms that had hit or from our retail locations that we had across the state of Wisconsin. And just growing up, and I'm just like, always thought I was going to be in the business. And then high school, I worked out of one of our retail facilities as a manager there, assistant manager. Became assistant manager for the manager, but able to alleviate all his responsibilities at 16 years old. 2006 major hailstorm came through and took care of that stuff. And then summers in college and was working for the business a little bit just for 2 years. And, my old man always said, don't be a PDR tech. It's slimy. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be, you're headed down a different path, being in industry and whatnot. So I went to college, engineering school, and next thing one led to another, had some good success outside in the real world on things. And the father, as he was downsizing, looking to retire, and decided to buy the business and take it to the next level. And I think I've only fixed technically on a panel one dime-sized dent. And I got a photo of this in 2006, and it took me 30 minutes on a deck lid of a Toyota Camry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Bumper corners all day long.
I take it back. You can fix a dent. All right,
one dent.
You can fix a dent. So I think that's fascinating. Like you said, can you remind me which city you're located, city and state?
Yeah, so we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, suburb of Milwaukee, which is Brookfield.
Gotcha. So you're running a business that does retail dents. It does hail damage. You have guys that service dealerships, and I believe, and you can correct me, you do all kinds of other stuff too.
Yeah,
all kinds of other reconditioning things. So talk about first what you guys do at the retail facility, and then what you added from after you bought it.
Yeah. So after I bought the business, it was strictly dents.
Just PDR,
they had just PDR, and it was Austin, specialize, be a niche business. And so I took that to heart for the first, because I didn't want to the first year and a little bit, I didn't want to rock anything yet. So I was trying to really understand, while I grew up in business, what's changing, at that time, not ashamed to say it. I mean, up until a little while ago, 2 years ago or so, we were still using carbon copies, papers, because it was quick, it was efficient with the volume of people coming in and make it easy on the technicians. That's what they preferred. Old school. Our technicians are very loyal and with us a long time. And it was just didn't go move to mobile tech. And so it just started making this shift, as I'm starting to get, reading more of what's out there, and obviously changing across my estimating approach. And that's the thing that anybody that's worked for me or with me is, how the heck can you estimate these cars and actually understand? And that can pick out stuff that when panels have been repainted from not just, a mile away when they're that bad, but going through in the intricacies and understanding that. And they keep saying, I'll make a heck of a technician if I ever wanted to, but it is taking it the back step. So when I started moving from just dents, because my retail customer base has been very loyal. We've been in the same facility since 1995. And
awesome.
as that's grown in that base, they would always ask us like, hey, who do you know can ceramic coat a car? Who do you know that can detail a car? And I'm like, well, I can ceramic coat a vehicle. I can detail a vehicle. So, in addition to, estimating, taking care of cleaning bathrooms, taking care of payroll, taking care of everything, I was detailing cars then and ceramic coating the cars myself. So I started adding ceramic coatings. Then it was
that was the first thing you added outside of PDR.
Outside of PDR. Yep.
Yeah.
And then
that makes sense. We've talked about that a lot, Ryan. That's like a very logical first step. I mean, RestorFX comes with the ceramic coating too and stuff, but that's a very logical step. Sorry to interrupt you on that, but I think there's a lot of guys that are adding multiple services. We talk a lot about that, but that ceramic coating, paint correction, ceramic coating seems to be the most common first step.
And that is exactly because here in Wisconsin, we have 2 seasons, winter and construction. So basically we still have winter and construction.
Never heard that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm not ice fishing. So we had a very seasonal business. Those winter months, like how can we augment those winter months? If you're sitting around, you can only clean the shop so many times and organize everything.
Sure. Yeah.
So as we started adding that, next thing you know, we got our hand-painted pinstripes. A friend of ours comes in, takes care of that for us, along with our paint protection films using Expel. And so that, between it's a very complimentary service because the customers that were coming in, they're like, hey, I want to take care of my vehicle. How can I protect my vehicle? What can I do? And so, I've sold more PPFs, full car PPFs, which is the best one, and entertaining, I always think. And then tied on, they want ceramic coating on top of that. And I'm like, okay, well, you're just, just give me a stack of cash and be gone. And for some of these customers. But, it's that growth of looking at it full from these customers who, a vehicle is their second largest purchase that they make. And when you go thinking about that with how, especially the shift after COVID, I thought, what are we going to do with our business? And we still kept growing and expanding because people were looking at what the supply chain has done. They started to, there's a lot more. You look at what the household incomes have changed and household debt levels. And as that was starting to ratchet down and everything, part of that was because people weren't financing and buying new vehicles. So now they really want to take care of what they have. And we had a lot of customers that they were leasing every 2 years. Now all of a sudden, like, hey, I'm going to buy this new vehicle. I want to keep it for 5 years or 7 years and hit it to a certain mileage number. When they looked at the depreciation curve, I talked about a lot of that with customers, and what's at the right time to change out from that life cycle management. And they're just like, well, this makes a lot of sense. And I said, well, now how are you going to protect that to make sure it's always looking pristine? And so that's how the natural evolution, ceramic coating, PPF, hand-painted pinstripes, because every vehicle is boring without a nice hand-painted pinstripe. And now we look at the average age of the vehicles in Wisconsin, it's more than 7-8 years. I think I saw the statistic a couple of months ago. It was like 11 and a half years. So the people that are still coming in with those 3 to 8-year-old vehicles, we have a lot of touch car washes here. And I don't know how many times I've written a published author on a couple of different articles out there on maintaining the exterior of a car. And they still go through these things. And they're starting to look dull and like, well, what can I do? Ceramic coat it, I get all my paint correction, everything. And I said, but then how are you going to wash your car? So that's where an education for the customers, but then those customers like, well, that ceramic coating, I'm not going to spend $2,500, $3,000 on this. Well, what else can we do? And that's when Ryan last year was working and introduced RestorFX, and that's where I saw this natural evolution for the customers for that sweet window of 3 to 8-year-old vehicles. And from a retail's perspective, because wholesale is another different game, but from a retail market, that's where I really saw taking care of these customers and keep adding on all these additional services is important.
Yeah. So you do it all.
It's for a good price. So that's what really got us talking to you with the RestorFX was you going from a $3,000 ticket to maybe a $1,000 or $1,200 ticket, or even lower than that in some cases. So that's why you're like hearing you sell, you're not only a business owner, you're like a phenomenal seller too. Jesus.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And he's talking about, listen to him because he's talking about, the life cycle of vehicles and average age of vehicles, all that type of stuff, that if you really want to own and grow a business that changes the game in the market, that's kind of stuff you're looking at. You're not looking at trying to book a job for tomorrow. You're looking at the entirety of the situation out there in Milwaukee. So
Yep.
Well, being able to relay that to the customer is huge, because some of us are just moving so fast. We talked about this on the last podcast. We're moving so fast. We're just like, let me fix that dent, get out. Austin has a different perspective where he's letting these customers know what it takes to keep that car nice, because everything we do is a luxury service, right? Everything in the recon industry,
nothing's needed. Nothing's needed. Just
except for ADAS.
You get a better gas mileage with the hail damaged car. Golf ball effect. And when I use that with customers, they laugh. And when they think about it, I said, well, you get your little half an MPG a little bit better. And we give a whole history lesson on how dimples on golf balls happen. And I'm not a golfer either. So I'm not a PDR tech, and I'm not a golfer, but I still talk across the side. But it's just, when you start looking at it from a customer's perspective, and Ryan, you just made a good point of, you're always just trying to quick fix a dent and move on to the next one. When you actually spend, and this is probably the thing that if I could help others understand, is look at what your customer experience looks like. Look at what your journey, all the journey map for that customer, from whether it's from the initial dent, whenever the incident happens, all the way through to that final repair. And, how many people want to prepay for an advance and everything? And I go, no, I want to see the smile when you're done. And it's burning. There's so much negativity in the world. Is if I can make any interaction we have here through my shop and with my teams that I have, if I can make that a positive experience, that goes so far. And that's something that's missing. It's, I'm having a bad day. My shoulder's hurting because I've been pushing for 26 years or something like that, or my knees are giving out on me, looking at it from a technician standpoint. And now there's this frickin' Ford 2015 F-150 aluminum. Awful. Rock hard. In the doors. Lower in the doors. Right through that brace. You have a string of 4 of those because we got a lot of trucks in Wisconsin. And it's just like, okay, always putting on that happy face. And the line I always use, it could always be worse.
Yep.
And let's look at it from that customer viewpoint. What can we do to make their day better? Every positive interaction that they have becomes, 10 other people that come in. Our referral business is huge as that result. And that's what's really missing across the industry, I feel, from my interactions.
Yeah, I think the automotive industry, well, potentially the world for one, but in the automotive industry too, I think a lot of people still look at it from car sales to mechanical maintenance to anything like that. Everyone's just kind of a little bit side-eyed, like they're going to take advantage of me. I think that's true.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. And the one thing that was really eye-opening for me is when people actually see that you're trying to be genuine and are genuine. Is not that just how they open up, but they come to you for other questions and answers. How many other people would go and not say if they needed help moving or something like that, not to that extreme, but hey, if they're looking to buy a vehicle, we get a lot of people that swing by the shop, say, hey, can you just take a look over this vehicle? What are your thoughts on it? What does the outside look like? What do you think? Can you go drive around the quick block? Do you see anything that's wrong? We get a lot of widowers that come in, widowees and widowers from male and female both sides, where the significant other had always taken care of their car. And now this is the first time that they have to do something, whether it's getting an oil change. I don't do any oil changes or tire rotations, but
not yet.
I'll go buy a Jiffy Lube for that. Around the corner. But they don't know what to do. They don't know what this process looks like. They don't know what it should cost. And that's part of some of these challenges. And when they feel a connection to that, they can trust you to be looking out for their wallet, not your wallet. If you start making that change as a technician, as a business owner, it goes tenfold out in a positive way. And that's the widower or widowee stuff. That's a unique one.
Yeah, that's trust, man. That's your customers trusting you.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'm going to ask this question because I feel like a lot of people are thinking it. When you purchased the business, did you lose any technicians?
No.
How?
How?
How? I mean, I'm curious. I feel like a lot of people are worried about selling their business and to a non-PDR technician, to be honest with you, and because they feel like they might not respect them or whatever, to understand that like what they have to do to be. Well, I mean, okay, there's a lot of egos in the PDR business, and when you're working for somebody, you're not making the full ticket. The profit has to go into the business or something, and obviously, and so I think there's a lot of like, oh, why should I split with you? And this comes from my dad started PDR in 1991 as well, so I saw him throughout his career. People came. People left. They started their own businesses, and a lot of that happened in the 90s and stuff, in the 2000s when there was nobody doing PDR, so they all kind of started their own routes. Anyway, so when selling it, and you have PDR technicians, how do you sell the business and retain those people? Do you have any tips for that?
One, I mean, having pre-existing relationships with them, while I wasn't involved directly in the business at the time, but growing up in
that's huge. Yeah,
and you look at things. And a couple have made the comment is, Austin, you've really changed this business and for us, and everybody's happy when they're making more money, which is positive, but is seeing the enthusiasm to grow. That's the important side. And too many people look at things as if they're selling a business, from the person selling the business, they will try to get as much money as possible for it. Person buying it wants to make sure that it hits that right NPV for that, based upon, what did the business do? Because, it's a relationship based business. And understanding that it's like, an insurance agency, when they go to sell, when a person has an insurance agency, they're going to sell, the valuations are all over the map because it's all those relationships that they had. Same thing when it comes to our industry today. And it's when you put together a vision and communicate. How many people don't communicate what their visions are for the company? Where are things growing? Where do you see the direction? Talk about the pains, talk about the successes. That's probably the biggest thing that I could say. And in any transaction,
that's huge.
Yeah, in any transaction, you're always going to have some sort of negativity that may fester or change. And sometimes they might not be the right culture. They might not be that right fit, that right personality. And culture is really important. And, there's always to steal one of my mentors in the industry out in Indiana, is there's always a dime tech, a dime PDR tech. They're always around, nickel PDR tech. You can always find somebody to push some sort of dent. But it's when you really start crafting those quarters and silver dollars and helping enable and empowering them, that's where you're truly starting to build that right culture. We got a gentleman that's basically since July, he's been working, early July has been working for me. And, just used to only do R&I, and now started pushing. And I got a wonderful text message last night, and where he just went through and just said, thank you so much for not just the opportunity, but helping me grow. And with all the extra damage, we looked at a vehicle, that dent, he said last night on this Tiguan door, that would have taken me 4 hours to do. And I would have been intimidated as heck. Nice big smash through the crease, a couple inches long. Comes through and it's like 25 minutes later, completed, glassed out, because taking the time to invest in others, that's the important side. So I know I kind of deviate a little bit.
No,
That
that is so
huge.
good.
Yeah, one of the mentors I followed, and I don't know him personally, but Ed Milet, very, very famous mentor for a lot of people, podcaster, etc. Two things that he said that I've always thought about, and I took over my dad's business after he passed away about a year and a half ago. And these two things I think about a lot. He said to his employees, and he owns a lot of different companies, but his people are, he basically calls it's a self-development program with a compensation package. So he pays them, but he's also a mentor to them. He's a coach to them. He wants them to win in life. He helps them in their personal life, all that type of stuff. And I think any good business owner, it's not just a value exchange of dollars that can keep people around. And so I think that's huge. And the second one is that, like you said before, they want to see growth. And I think Ed Milet also says this: if you have to have a dream, your dream has to be big enough, Austin, so that all the people that work for you, their dreams can fit inside of that dream. Because if they start dreaming bigger than you, then they're going to go out and do their own thing. And they should, because we're humans and we all have those things. So you have to set that vision and communicate that vision to them that's big enough so that they can be like, yeah, I'm going to follow this guy. Pretty much. That's how I feel about it. Do you agree with that?
That's so powerful.
Agree, because it's like a conversation. I just had a very long, lengthy meeting with an insurance company today. And after the conclusion of this meeting, they asked if I'd want to be a DRP for PDR. And
what?
Yes. And because of the approach, to taking a look across the business, everything I've talked about, and they went through and said, we were looking for a partner that's actually, they've been burned. It's a large insurance company. They've been burned a lot of times. There's a lot of people. A storm we had last year, we were chuckling about that when we got hit here in Wisconsin pretty good, of ghosting panels. And we had some documented cases across this, and where vehicle comes in, they're at $15,000, $16,000. I can't get more than $9,000 on this car because of what's fair for the insured, what's fair for the technician fixing the work, making sure that all the recovered or the appropriate repair procedures, everything's being followed. But the other side of it was, just there's no dents on the damn bedside. Why put damage there?
Yeah.
And having that integrity.
Because you get $1,000.
Yeah.
That's the reason, obviously.
Yeah. And so it makes up for those other cars. But, you look at the car in total, what's right for you as an owner. I don't know how some people slept last year after some of the stuff that we saw.
That's every hailstorm
happens. And so that's where the conversation from the insurance company, they went. And we talked about the vision, that what I'm setting up here in Wisconsin, and as this growth, and actually talked about a little bit of an app that I'm working on building for managing from managing a customer experience for hailstorms, specifically from a wholesale perspective and a retail perspective, because looking at that, and they're just like, we want to work with you more. We want to work with you more, not just the reputation you guys built, the customers that you took care of for us on a retail basis. They sent us letters saying how wonderful the time they had. And we had some very severe damage where, from roofs that were beat to heck for replacement, cars were just pelted, and they just had such a positive experience, just wanted to work. And I know everybody says, the insurance companies can be the big bad wolf, and, you got to keep them at bay. Well, when you find the right way to talk and communicate, they don't want to get in the middle between a shop and the customer. No, and too many times you hear these stories, you read some of these things, or hear across some of the podcasts, screw every insurance company. But when you take a look at it from the step back, and from an owner, as a business owner, it's like, how can we enable and enhance a working relationship? And it's not just whose pocketbook is being lined. And when you take a look at it from a customer perspective, that's what they care about. So so I shared this story with my team tonight. And they're like, well, finally they're going to start communicating. But then you could see the joy in their face when they realize, hey, this is another part of this circle growing bigger, this vision for the company. You know, we're just a small market here in Wisconsin, and just about putting together that right vision is important. And as we talk about sharing that vision, you know, I could have kept that to myself and, you know, let it be a surprise when it starts coming through. But, you know, I'd rather share in the joys, share in the losses, share in the joys.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that's killer, dude. And I think, I mean, it's all there's several people I know throughout the industry. I don't need to name names, but who are trying to get away from being just only that technician. I'm one of them for sure. Try to get away, be only technician to be that business owner, so that conversations like that can happen, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things. Like you know, Ryan said earlier, like we just bring in the dent, $200. That's cool. I can do that in 15 minutes, right? You can't do that, really. So, and I think there's a power in that, or there is a power if you use it that way. Like you can't fix the dent. Great. You spend your time on learning how to estimate properly, building relationships with dealerships, talking to insurance companies, quoting vehicles, washing cars sometimes if you have to, apparently, all that type of stuff. And I think that's one of the most important things that people forget, that if you really want to build a business, which Ryan and I have talked about a lot, we're adding services, we're becoming that place where people come to you and say, hey, I have a car with a question. That's it. Doesn't matter the question. It doesn't have to be PDR related. And they just come to you for that. And if you want to do that, you got to build to the point to where you hire somebody to kind of manage the show for you, or you become the owner that has those conversations like Austin. And so I think just realizing that, I think admitting that to yourself, hey, if I want to build a business, I can't just fix dents all day long. If you want to fix dents all day long and make multiple six figures a year, fantastic. You have a really good job. And the day you're done fixing dents, the day the job ends. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. My dad was that guy, and he had a great life. There's no doubt about it. But if you want to build a business and you listen to these podcasts and hear us adding RestorFX and ceramic coats and blah, 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 you want to build a business, there becomes a point to where you have to actually work on the business and not fix dents. You agree? And
yes, and you have to learn how to enable and empower others.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And I've had a really good growth and development here the last 6 months. And it's where I brought in an office manager, and what they've been able to do. And when I get kicked out of, you know, having my own conversations, like, I got this, Austin.
Is that my girl?
That's a girl. That's a girl. Yeah. And so we'll probably should talk about how we actually first met Ryan at some point here.
Yeah, we can.
But it's recognizing that is I'm not working in the business, working on the business, and everything that's enabled me to do everything from a marketing standpoint, all the settings. We talk about the vision setting today, and it's a shift. And I'm not a control freak or anything like that. I try not to be a micromanager. And so I realized, and even especially the last 3 months for me is been trying to grow, keep releasing, and from some even estimating some things, as keep training, you know, writing in CCC, just power and just enabling that power. It's such a different mindset. It took me about 3 months ago, when the phone rings, I'm not sitting there reaching for my phone and answering it when the office phone rings. It took me a while to get there.
Yeah.
And you're not jumping from fire to fire. And you know, we look at it, why do some of these big companies succeed? You know, Boeing, Apple, Amazon. It's because, you know, that delegation, and as you're trying to, you know, put together what are those right processes, those right workflows, or that right systems, enabling others. You know, Tim Cook from Apple, he's not sitting there knowing exactly what's happening in some specific design software glitch or something that's going on. Now, Elon Musk might be something else. He might be they're right down there in the weeds.
Dude knows everything, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that enabling and empowering others. And I'm still working on it. There's things I still struggle with. But, you know, with that, and the thing I'm trying to get better at is giving recognition and praise.
Yeah.
And how many times, you know, we're all still human, whether it's an atta girl, atta boy, great job. Thank you for handling that. You made the right decision on that. It's powerful, and it warms my heart. It warms other people's heart. It just kind of sounds kind of fruity to say that.
No, it's awesome.
It's
You sounded like you trying to move to California, Austin, or what?
Nah,
Come on, man.
I don't think that's leg out there.
No, I'm just messing with you. But no, I think that's huge. I think you have to be. I think you, as a business owner, have to have the humility to do that, to empower and to give other people that power. Honestly, I talked to Matt Moore a while back, and he told me something that I've thought about. I mean, I've talked to Matt Moore fairly often, but he told me something that he knows his weaknesses so well that he'll tell his managers his weaknesses. So hopefully it's okay if I share this. I'm sure it's fine, but he knows that when he gets stressed out, he goes into micromanage things sometimes. So he basically said, hey, this is when I get in a spot where I'm nervous or scared or money's not coming in, whatever the reasons why a business owner gets stressed out and he starts to micromanage, his managers have to look at him and say, hey, like, you hired me for this, like, let me do my shit. And, he's like, so understanding your weaknesses and telling the people that you're empowering the people that work for you to tell you to back the fuck off so that they can do their job. And he's
Correct.
like, you're right. And that's hard. That's hard to do. Like, that takes a lot of humility to be like, I hired you for this job because you're literally better at it than I am. You can do it. And if I try to step on your toes, tell me to back off. And I think about that a lot.
It is. And so last week, I'm in Bellingham, Washington for training with
which we'll get to for RestorFX training.
For RestorFX training.
Yeah.
And to be gone from the shop, I was gone 7 days, Sunday to Saturday. And my lead technician, who's going to eventually he'll be running that entire division of the business. And with the whole team, we already got we're building out an org chart for this and whatnot. And to be gone from the shop and, to not worry about things, you look at Chicago got hammered with hail and you're starting to freak out inside and say, hey, that could be coming to Wisconsin. Do I jump on a plane? What's going to happen? Or north a couple hours got hit with hail. We're going to eventually get the trickle down. Those customers sitting at O'Hare Airport, they're going to be coming in by me. And you go and you're like, I don't need to jump on an airplane. The team has this. They got their processes down. They're confident in things, and they're ready to make decisions in the right way, knowing the customer perspective. That was huge. And I sent a couple of very personal emails last week that I just said, thank you. Like, just I couldn't have done it 9 months ago, a year ago, or 2 years ago. I couldn't be gone for a week like that. And again, it's that recognition.
Well, it's good that you have your team and your whole team understands that what you were doing in Bellingham was enabling the growth of everybody in your company, right?
Yep.
That's something me and Matt Moore talked about a lot, was getting your employees, everybody around you, to understand that you're hiring them for a job to give you, the business owner, the opportunity to create the growth for them to be able to move around in the company if need be. And that's good that you're actually able to do that without struggle, right? I struggle with it every time I leave, right?
Yeah, you want to give them that vision. I think one of the biggest problems that people do across all industries, especially this industry, they hire one or two techs and then they think they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
They're like, cool, making money, making 30-40% off each person, and I'm just gonna take Fridays off and go golf more, blah blah blah. And it makes it not last that long. And I respect the hell out of my dad, and I appreciate the life that he helped me build by me doing this. But I think that was one of his things, is that when he got good with all the technicians, he backed off. He didn't spend the time to build that vision so that all of them looked at him like, I need to stay with him because he's going to take me where I want to go. You know what I mean? Right. And that's a lesson that he gave me by him not doing that. And he had a whole different life growing up. So he made a success out of a dirt poor existence that he had as a child. However, looking at that, you can't just hire those people, and now you're like, Austin, you got 5 employees and they make X dollars per month or whatever. So like, I'm cool. Like, I'm a business owner. Like, I'm good. Like, I just make $5,000, $10,000 a month without doing anything. Like, you can do that for a little bit, but if you don't create that vision, communicate, they don't want to stay. They don't have a reason to be there. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just looking, if I have it handy here, I keep this chart, and basically if I would draw it on a whiteboard, is you get from it, and I'll just kind of do it in the map. You know, you got that typical mountain. You see that graphic. And it's across the stages. Yeah, it's like a bell graph, but they got a mountain. I'll send you the visual of it.
Cool.
And it's where you're at in this journey of your business. And what you just described is a lot of people, they end up on this downward spiral. They're happy, they're content, they don't want to make changes.
Whatever.
Yep. And that's when those issues occur. So whatever you can do to keep staying on that left side of that mountain as you're trying to keep growing and keep building, and you can get to that peak. We got to that peak in the dents. We really did. So now it's like, okay, I don't want to end up on this downward side of this mountain and become stagnant. And that's what happens to a lot of people. And from technicians, owners, a lot of businesses. But now is okay. Now what's the next thing we can do to bring us back to the left side and keep growing? And that's where that vision setting comes into play. And that's where it's important, because if you're not learning, you're failing. And if you're not trying to figure out what problem can I solve, you're failing. And it sounds kind of deep, but that's what brings success. It's not success, whether it's a monetary success, personal success, family success, whatever that success might look like. It's, being able to just keep assisting others with that customer perspective. It sounds kind of great. Again, a little corny, a little bit different. You don't hear technicians talking things like that, but I'll be, and if people reach out, ask what I mean, that I'm happy to talk through. And
you don't hear technicians talking like that. You know who talks like that? Business owners.
But that's what the good thing about the RestorFX. That's the whole point we're trying to get across, because we have a lot of different people, whether it's people who own a paint correction business or an interior business or a dent business. They're getting into RestorFX, and this is the type of business that we're trying to make people, not make people, but get people to understand that you cannot work in this business, but you're going to have to work on it constantly.
Yep.
So this is all powerful.
And that's, we talk about RestorFX, it's going to be new. It's going to be unheard of in the marketplace. And when I was asking a lot of very pointed questions last week, and I asked a lot of questions, and just looking at things differently. And the first half day, like, well, we don't need to go meet during the lunch hour because we already covered all the things I would talk to you about. And you're asking me, and now I'm starting to think about what I need to do differently. And I haven't even talked about marketing yet. But it's going to be such an awareness campaign. Everybody could see those Instagram before and afters. PCR, paintless clear coat restoration or repair. It depends on, it's kind of like paintless dent repair, PDR.
Yeah, removal.
I got another three-letter acronym that you don't know what that R is supposed to be. What it's supposed to be. And when you think about it like that, is how do we do this education? Because even today, how many people actually know that paintless dent repair exists? How many people
1 out of 10?
How many people know that? How many people know you can come to a retail facility and have it taken care of? You don't need to go to a dealership. And how many people still need to say, hey, I got to go back to my dealership, take care of things. I got to go to that body shop. And we talked about the services. The one thing we're also getting into is a bit more of some of those smart repairs. And those jobs that pushing the boundaries on the PDR, smash big hits, home runs with those. But then, we have to replace the fender because it's tacoed. No other way. But hey, that deer hit, Wisconsin, we got a lot of deer hits everywhere. Now it tumbled down the side of the door. Now we're able to take care of that and to get those combo works, working with our partner body shops, taking care of all that. And now they're like, hey, I'm not going to have to go when these guys are actually going to be fair. It's not going to be intimidating. And how many dealerships are intimidating? Body shops are intimidating because they got a bad reputation. And as people start to raise awareness, as PDR, hey, it's an option for more than just what they might have. Dent clinic is not just we're not just just dents. So you think about now, I got a branding thing I got to start thinking about too.
You need to be the auto clinic.
Yeah, no, because I'm not going to do
auto
suspension.
spa.
Yeah, no, auto spa I feel is too overused now in terms of terms. I got a whole list of things I've been exploring, especially with as I keep building out these pillars of this business.
Yeah.
But you start back to the RestorFX now with PCR. I'm thinking about, okay, what did we do in the early 90s? How did we raise this awareness? I mean, we had across our location. We were the top franchisee for many, many years when we were part of a franchise. And there's a reason we went from a retail perspective. So with RestorFX, everybody, when I first started talking, I was calling around, and I called you gentlemen, and everybody's like wholesale. I'm looking at this differently as how can I do this from a retail perspective and get the wholesale accounts to buy in based upon this retail presence. And that's a different way of approaching it, I feel like. Because we all know the retail market's different. They're picky. It's going to be different than the wholesale. I mean, you could schmuck some stuff on and spend 3 hours on a car and be done. But then even my technician, he's looking at it, he's like, I'm going to spend that extra hour because now I don't have to go do that rework. Even if it's a wholesale car, spend that little extra time. You're not going to have a couple hours of rework the next day. And it's bringing that from a retail perspective and it's giving that same quality, well, it's retail or wholesale. And that's where the RestorFX, I think, bringing this awareness, how is this going to work? But I'm looking at everything as I'm putting together my marketing plans from this retail perspective outwards. And I can't wait to see what the next couple of months is going to bring. I'm waiting for our kit to arrive. I wish we would have ordered it on the Monday to have it shipped.
What was your first experience when I know me and you talked about RestorFX and you've talked to quite a few people about it, but what was your first experience when you saw the first panel done?
So it's a good question.
I had to pick up my jaw off the ground, first of all. And then me with my pickiness, I'm like, okay, then you start saying, okay, here's some of the flaws. What can we do differently? Right away, I was like, what do we need to do differently in our prep work for that 80, 90% of all that work to make sure that last 10% goes right. But my jaw hit the ground and I took a couple of photos. I sent it to a couple of my dealership buddies and friends, and they're like, sign me up. We're sold. So just 2 messages. And yesterday I sold a dealership on it as well. And actually I sold them on the full end-to-end recon. They're like, yeah,
talk
we're
about
done.
that a little bit too.
Can't give all the secrets out yet.
I know.
People, we got to get them to the last 20 minutes of the podcast. They haven't hung up yet. But my jaw hit the ground, Ryan. And I said, this is truly going to be a game changer. Now I'm still waiting to see, how long is this actually going to last? That's the thing that I'm still trying to work.
I have a car that's in my shop right now that we did it. It was one of the first demos that we did for like a family friend when we first got back. So that was 2.5-3 years ago. And this thing looks phenomenal. 2014 F-150, and it looks phenomenal. And it's sat outside its entire life.
Yep. And
so
I got cars that are over a year and a half old now too, and just friends and that's what we did first. We just all friends and family. Hey, let me see if this works. Free. Your car looks like shit. It's gonna look like less shit, because we couldn't promise anything necessarily. We knew we could do it, but I see them all the time. Cars are great. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, they're not perfect anymore because they just take them back to the car wash again and stuff. But
yeah, well, and that's where you just hit a really good point. So now I'm working on an actual. You get your aftercare instructions. I'm actually working on a thing of literature and from the articles that I have published out there in a couple of different magazines, and actually putting together. Here's how you should take care of your car to make it last. and from a non-selling perspective, just a value add. And people need to hear things 7, 8, 9 times until it actually sticks.
Yep.
And that's where I'm taking a look at this is, every customer that's going to come in for a dent repair is going to get this package. And it's just a helpful thing. It's going to cost me, to have this folder put together, and not just a trifold brochure. I'm actually going to put together a folder, and some of them I'm even thinking about putting together a little goodie bag, like with micro samples of product, things that they could use and take care of, just as an added value for people to feel they get extra value. Now,
you take that stuff from like the skincare hair community that my wife, every time my wife goes and gets her hair done, she also leaves with the next coolest thing that she can try on her face or whatever. And I'm like, it's freaking brilliant. Honestly.
And that's why I'm taking a look at this. People, it's a second largest purchase that they have. And I'm in an affluent area. I won't lie about anything that for my local market, for immediate local market. But the thing that's really changed for me, and we've really seen, we used to be predominantly older male clientele coming in. Now we're seeing the shift. I got a younger crowd that comes in. I'd say younger. Now I'm kind of starting to feel old some days. People come through, but a lot more female clientele. And as we're making the shift, and as we start looking across my advertising or my marketing avatars, and how is this messaging connection with them, I'm going to see how is this going to continue to grow. And now I got something else for these older vehicles that's going to bring somebody in. And I'm looking at this, they're going to take care of the interior. So I'm going to take care of any of the interior recon that we need to take care of. Now, we got a couple of dents we're going to take care of. Hey, we're going to RestorFX this vehicle. Hey, once that's done, and this thing I got to learn a little bit is how long is it going to take till I can do like a partial front clear bra on a vehicle after it's been RestorFX? That's something I got to learn here and experiment with. But it's like, okay, now we're selling this value because people, they're going to have these vehicles hopefully paid off. They want to keep it looking nice. They want to be proud of the second largest purchase that they have. So, we're just trying to save people money. Save people money long so we can keep investing in this country.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that literally buy new cars because they hate the way their car looks. I was talking to somebody about that earlier today. Yeah, she has an older car. She doesn't really worry about it, but there's a lot of people that like want their car to look nicer, and so like I'm just gonna buy another one, and they'll pay $35,000 and $45,000 after interest and all that stuff. I'm like, if you just put like $2,000 into this car, you would be great. Yep. It would be fixing dents, do RestorFX, fix the windshield chip, do some touch-up.
Sooner or later, we're going to be fixing so many retail cars that the dealership trade-ins aren't going to have any dents on them. They're going to be perfect.
Right. Damn right. Damn right.
No, that's my favorite though. I'm at my dealers around here. When people are trading in vehicles, they're referring them right to us. And why don't you clean this all up before they come in? So that's a unique one.
That's awesome.
That's
I like
fascinating.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
the dealership's going to spend less money, right, on recon.
Yeah, they'd rather buy the front lot ready, like done. Yeah. That's cool.
Because dude, you get a lot of them that'll get a trade in, and they can sell that thing the next day. Like if it's good to go, they do the PDI on it. They'll sell it next
Smog
day.
And safety. Yeah.
Yeah, which my sell my car packages we put together on things. So
nice.
Those are the fun. Those are the fun ones.
Nice.
Tell us what you can about being basically end-to-end reconditioning for a dealership.
So,
because you and I talked, you really opened my eyes about how you're trying to do that, and I think it's pretty cool. Yep.
First thing, I got to buy a big warehouse. Lease a warehouse. Trying to find one right now is kind of tough.
Yeah.
So and that's starting to grow, and it's going to take off because one, those relationships that we all have built with the dealerships, they still have those with 8 other sublets out there, taking care of this guy comes on Tuesday, this guy comes on Wednesday, and how long does it take a dealership to have a vehicle ready to sell if it's not clean? If they're buying some at auction, they get that 5-year-old Mazda that needs to be cleaned up. And as you start walking through and you start making these changes, dealerships it costs them time, it costs them money, it costs them the people side of things, it costs them the capital side.
The answer is several weeks, right?
Correct.
I thought you were going to say the answer is several weeks from car drops to like all fully reconditioned. Correct.
And these dealerships, and as I've been approaching this, as we're heading down this path, and their eyes are opened. I had a dealership principal tell me, I will pay you a premium to make this happen for me. And if you can really decrease the amount of time it's going to take to have these frontline ready, the time that you're going to save me in my interest payments on this vehicle that I can't sell,
right?
That's worth, several hundred, more than $500 premium to have that happen. And
nice.
Then you start looking at it. We're talking about we're in an auto recon and end-to-end recon, but you can't do it all yourself, and that's why you still got to have your specialists. And as I'm building out this roster of specialists across, that's what they're good at. Interiors, we got the dent side coverage. There's a couple other things. Add on RestorFX, and you start looking at this a little bit differently, and you realize, hey, this could actually work, and this is working, and you start getting this vision, and as you keep communicating and empowering your team with this vision, they just see like, hey, we're going to make this happen. And the dealerships are like, when can you fully get this fully covered? Well, I need to find this building to make this happen,
right.
and fully to take it to really scale it. And the challenge is it can scale too quickly. Now that's a problem everybody likes to have, but
no, it sucks.
It does. But and you can manage everything, with inefficient processes. This important thing is if somebody's looking at doing this is actually, what does that process look like? What does this flow? Don't think about it as reconning cars. Thinking about it as a manufacturing business. How do you go from a block of, iron to a sewing needle? What does that look like? What does that process look like? And if you start thinking about it this way, is you realize you can't have organized chaos. And actually creating the flows. I don't know, Ryan, you're big on process on things. We talked about that a couple of different times, but it's really start thinking about it not like a technician, not like a dent tech. And you talk and you communicate this to the wholesale market, they start to get it, because how many dealerships are just, they don't even know what vehicles they have on the lot, where things are in stages. They might have I forget what
completed or whatever.
Yep. Where things are at. They got things.
Well, they're also they're hemorrhaging money, right? Because you have all their vendors, their recon vendors, destroying them on everything, right? They're writing up every single thing on the parking lot. They don't even know what they're fixing, right?
Yep. And that's a challenge. And when you actually go to the dealer and then you say, like, just look at it from a dent perspective. The wholesale market is challenging when it comes to dents. You got some larger companies that might say $75 a vehicle. And if you're able to double that, that's great. And across, because when you look at it from the quality that you produce on it, dealerships will pay a premium for quality. If you can save them from having to paint that entire door, we all know they hate painting reds. They'll pay a premium for that, and you understand, because now it's not going to be tied up for 3 weeks or 4 weeks at the Mako for having that door painted to fix that. They understand some of that, and
I think one of the things I see is, we've talked about this a lot of times, Ryan. Sorry to interrupt you. I wasn't sure if it was a break.
No.
Being an expert, we talk about that a lot with like retail customers. Being an expert, understanding the process, educating them, etc. I think it's really important, and I've learned this more and more over the last year or two, and partially from you too. But I see that you do that well. Is that you are an expert. For you to be able to go into a dealership talk to the owner, GM, GSM, whoever it is, and talk about how much you know about reconditioning and teach them and show them how this reconditioning process that you created can help them make more money, get the cars done faster, and make their customers happier, all at the same exact time. And you'll just handle everything and simpler and all that stuff. Then you can actually, from a business owner, reconditioning business owner to a business owner of a dealership, and really show them how you can help them on the B2B side of things. Not as like, hey, I can fix your dents. Hopefully I can get $75 a car or whatever, but like really show them how you can help them with the reconditioning. And you can't do that unless you at least are or close to, and at least perceive yourself as an expert in what you're doing, so that you can have that conversation. So, and you don't have to be able to fix it. You don't have to be able to do it all either. Like if you're going to do a multi-service exhibit A, if you're going to add a multiple services in your business, you won't be able to do it all. Right. I have RestorFX. We do windshield chips and touch up and stuff like that. I can do RestorFX kind of. It's been 6 months, so probably, better be a wholesale car, right? Type of thing at this point. But like the other stuff I can't even do. And so being a business owner, and that goes back to the humility and leadership, and be able to talk to your guy. Like I bring a car in and I'm like, hey, like, what's your plan with this? Let's talk about this, because I want to know and see if I could change, add, move processes around or whatever. And I'm leaning on him because like I can't do it. I don't even know how to do it. Show me what you're going to do, and let's see if I can have a perspective that makes a difference. So all that stuff, I think the whole podcast wrapped up into one. You got to have all those skills in order to kind of do what you're doing. Clearly you have them.
I try just, just stay humble to continue to grow, and I can't be an expert in everything, and keep enabling and empowering others. And that's how this growth will continue. That's how, as we add on these additional pillars to the business, continue to grow, that's what's going to be important. And the other thing I would probably say, not everybody can be a business owner. It's stressful. As you guys know, it's stressful. You're worried about, what does next payroll look like? What am I going to be able to hit budget? Too many people are always looking at everything, week to week, month to month. When you start taking a look at what is a year going to look like, what do we need to do to reach targets, set goals, looking across our KPIs, are we hitting where things are going? That's different, and not everybody is fit out or is cut out for it. And so that's why, so if I was saying, if somebody's listening, hey, I'm a PDR tech and, I want to quit and go do someplace else, go something else, is, think about what are you made of as an individual? Can you handle that stress? And, you're always going to be the last one to get paid. And think about the investment. And, there's a lot of people that just look at it, well, I could spend this as a marketing dollar, or I could go to Disney World. And it's these trade-offs. And the biggest thing I could say to everybody is, as you continue to reinvest in this business, in your business, you think about, is that really the life you want, or you just want a paycheck and be able to go and be able to shut off? You never shut off as a business owner. And not everybody is cut out to be a business owner. And not everybody can set a vision. Everybody, some people could just work for themselves, just doing one niche product, one niche activity. And they can't, they're going to get stressed out if they have multiple different things to manage and go through without having the right team.
I think I've said that on a podcast before, that I was pushed into owning a business. Like that was my only option. So I was like, I fight that battle back and forth on a daily basis, whether I'm meant to own a business or not. Obviously I'm sticking with the owning the business side, but it's a struggle, man. And I can say, listen to Austin when he said that. If you're thinking about moving to if you're not happy where you're at now, working for somebody else, really do some soul searching, because it's not always what it's cracked up to be. I feel like we create bigger businesses like this, like we're trying to do for everybody else, right? I mean, yes, it's like we're creating a legacy for ourselves and what we leave behind. But I think the biggest legacy that we're trying to portray is what we're building for everybody else that's going to be here when we're gone. It's not about the money, right?
No, it's not.
No.
It's
I
not.
think go ahead.
Yeah. if you're in that position, my recommendation, Austin said it earlier, is I'd communicate. I would talk to the boss first and tell him, hey, look, I'm unhappy. Here's why I think I should be earning more. Here's the reason why. But with earning more there's different responsibilities. Like here's how I think I can earn more money. This is what I can do for the business to get us there to this point so that I can earn more money, et cetera. Not just pay me more, right? Of it. So what's that?
It's not just paying more. What it is though is it doesn't because now that's it just attracts from everywhere else. I mean, there's a couple of people I talked with. I mean, they took their percentages down a lot because it's whether tickets are getting bigger. As you grow a volume, if you take a volume of 4x, people should be happy. I mean, are enthusiastic. The day goes faster. They're making 4, 5, 6, 10 times more money, and they go, and that's where the growth happens. And that's where, if you're a technician, you're in that position where like I'm thinking about leaving. Is take a look at it. If you have those conversations with your leader, the person you're working for, and maybe they just don't have a spark anymore, and how can you help reinvigorate that spark? It is important because not everybody's meant to be an owner.
Yep,
that's huge. Yeah,
you can't have. Yeah,
that's true.
Man, I don't know whether to keep working or go work for Austin. This dude's got me pumped up.
I could use another 5 more people. Actually, I probably could do 10. I could probably do 10 and have them fully burdened, fully routes across everything.
I liked Wisconsin so much that I really wanted to stay, but I mean, we have so much going on, right?
I could have kept you. Sure. Could have kept you all the way through December last year.
I know.
I still remember the hail was falling, the second storm in the 2-day time period. I call a mentor, and I'm like, all right, I need somebody. I got all these technicians coming into town. I got another, 20,000 square foot warehouse rented and things. And I'm going to have this other site. It's going to be run differently. And I need somebody that I can enable and empower. I think that's probably one of our first conversations we had was can you just enable and empower you to make things happen and to trust. That was one of our first conversations, I think. And I know it was about a week until we actually met face to face.
I just got it. I got in the shop and I'm rocking and rolling, and then I had this conversation with you, and I was just like, I was sold on your growth, and I wasn't even going to be part of it. At that point, I mean, I played a small role in it, just being where I was, but I was super pumped up for you and everybody else that was going to be in the future. So it was like, man, I want to do whatever I can to make sure this, at the least amount of headaches we can get Austin to have here means he's going to do something else, better for everybody else. So it worked out good.
And that was the beauty of it, is being able to not have to worry about something 45, 47 minutes away from the main shop. Is when the storm came through, I had, a dozen plus body shops that are very large body shops. They said, we're abdicating all hail responsibility to you guys. We're going to turn these customers away, giving them not just your business card. I've had a sheet put together, and they said, just go to there. They will take care of everything. So you think about now, you're not having to pay a body shop a percentage on something. Is they wanted, because their retail presence and the customer service, because it's such a hailstorm is such a traumatic event for the customer, that they knew all the parts challenges. That's the other thing that they were trying to shy away from. Like, hey, who can we buck their responsibility to on that? But I say that tongue in cheek. As Lisa's I'm not looking for Honda hoods anymore. That's the kind of vision, and you build these relationships with. And so I was able to truly take care of that amount of technicians we had working, the amount of retail customers coming through, all the body shop volume that was coming through, was able to manage that. Still, it was a good learning and growth experience at the time, but knowing that I didn't have to worry about the location, where had you run and had you set up differently and make things happen.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered it. Honestly, that was wide ranging. Obviously, you're a smart dude, Austin. I appreciate it.
Just a good old country boy.
That's pretty awesome. Do you have anything to add toward the end of it, or I think I covered pretty much everything I was thinking about?
I mean, the biggest thing is I would say, we hardly touched on RestorFX actually. It's kind of funny.
We did a
little bit. Yeah.
I mean, RestorFX brought it brought a lot of this together, right?
It did.
It did. Yeah, for sure.
It is the biggest thing I would say is don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you're trying to grow as an individual, success isn't built overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. And just keep learning and growing. I mean, I got a drive from the shop to my house, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks now. I used to just be listen to the highway on SiriusXM kind of guy, and now I find myself listening more. I'm reading more, and I'll have the TV on in the background, and my wife will always go, my beautiful wife, she'll go, "How can you multitask? How are you doing that?" I'm like, well, some of it's just kind of background noise. I mean, I'm reading different articles, staying in tune. And don't be afraid to continue your education on things. It's okay to, whether you're a technician and, start trying to find a hobby, something else that you can grow and be able to give back and help others.
Yeah, so that's why we have the Masters of Recon Facebook for anybody out there. We understand that a lot of owning the business, if you're just getting into it, is we know you're not going to know everything because we don't know it as well. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out on Facebook because we have tons of people that are very successful. So just reach out and we'll get the answer for any question.
Yeah.
Yep. And Masters of Recon Facebook group.
Yeah.
Reach out to mentors. Find a mentor if you're out there. Find mentors.
You need mentors. Yeah.
Mentors.
Yeah.
Mentors.
100%. Totally. Yeah, I think that's an underutilized thing. We could take a tangent on that too. I mean, I coached people for a while. I stopped when I ended up taking over this business, but I don't even think you necessarily have to hire a coach, because I think there's a lot of good people in this industry that if you can just connect with somebody. I mean, I think mentors are both you and a lot of other people that I have. Mentor doesn't have to be someone that's like way further ahead than you or knows way more than you or all that type of stuff. I think a lot of times you can be mentors to each other too, to some extent.
Right.
And so I think just finding those people that you can connect with on certain things and going to MTE is super important because you can meet people there and like really create relationships that you can kind of mentor each other to some extent. Someone's always going to be a little bit further ahead, but in another aspect of the business, the other person might understand more or have a better awareness or idea about something like that. So just be involved. I mean, literally, like Facebook group, Master Recon Facebook group, going to MTE, listening to the podcast, reaching out to people from the podcast. Hey, I heard you on the podcast. I wanted to talk about this thing. Hop on a phone call, and you'd be surprised how many people you can connect with just by doing that. I mean, that's how
we all connected like that, though, right? Everybody here. So
and I mean, Ryan, I was going to start RestorFX, and I reached out to I think the Cordons and some other people, and they said call Ryan Brewer. I called Ryan Brewer. We met for the first time at Mobile Tech Expo in Florida in 22, I think it was, and we were just talking, hitting it off. Like, we understand a lot of the same things, all that type of stuff. We got asked to do the podcast together because they thought we had known each other forever. I'm like, no, we literally met like an hour ago. But you can make those connections. It doesn't take massive amounts of effort. You don't have to hire coaches for thousands of dollars. Don't do any of that stuff. You can definitely create these relationships using technology. I think people underutilize that. They really do. But it's important.
The first question you should ask somebody is, what mistakes have you made? Because if they say none, that's not a mentor.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to bring up is you take a look at this, is if we can get some of the ego out of some of the things, and how many people you hear these stories of when they go to MTE and it's like, I made X number of dollars last year.
Too many.
And when you bring that back, you start thinking about there's a reason why your business, you do what you have today. And there creates a lot of animosity. I mean, how many different warring factions are there across the recon space? And everybody has an animosity over something. And, we start taking this ego out of things. I've been with somebody the last 2 days that's come working for me after some stuff. And they said, just keep doing what you're doing. And just keep being, stay humble, to keep the ego out of the business. Everybody's got ego. And, sometimes, how you stroke your ego, how you flaunt things and whatnot. If we can take some of that out of this business, how many more people would have a positive experience with PDR, with an interior, with RestorFX, with ceramic coating, and there's just so much. That's a whole nother topic to get into, but just
we're gonna have to do this again later than
and bad ones.
Yeah, maybe we'll do round two.
Yeah, after a couple months of you owning RestorFX, we'll touch base and find out, what's the good, what's the bad. Hopefully, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully, I'm floated with work, and I'm looking for 5 more people at that time again for RestorFX.
Right. Yep. For sure.
We're running our assembly line.
Yep.
That's it, dude.
Well,
Good stuff, man.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Much.
Thanks, Austin. Yep.